Good morning, all. I am doing the Wednesday walkabout solo this morning. It's cool and it's been drizzling really most of the morning. It's really kind of beautiful out, if I do say so myself. It has been just horrifically hot lately, very, very humid, and the humidity has dissipated some. And finally, the temperatures have decreased a little bit. I think today it's supposed to be up to 81, which is actually for us 3 degrees below normal for this day in history. Let me just kind of give you kind of a panoramic view of the back. Yes, you can see that the Annabelle hydrangeas are now in bloom. And you can also see that Hubs has been enjoying his hammock. We brought the hammock itself in this morning because it was starting to rain. And I think it might be kind of rainy tomorrow. So let me point out just a couple of things that's going on back here. I did do my morning resort routine where I got out my Works blower and I blew off all of the cedar needles from the cedar trees that just keep dropping. Fortunately, that doesn't bother me too much because I really like the way they look as a mulch. So I just blow them into the flower beds and I think it makes a nice covering. So I fluffed up my pillows. I wiped down the table just as if I were a pool boy at the resort. So obviously the Annabelles are looking beautiful. And what I did yesterday, I believe in a previous video, I showed you how I layered different stems of the Annabelle hydrangea itself. I just bent them over, and then in the back I secured them with a big old clop of mud. Here I secured them just with a couple of picks. You can see where the leaves are abraded a little bit, but that won't make any difference because I want them to surround this corner and completely grow into the back of this juniper that I've got in the pot. And in short order, they will do that. And then this whole corner will be complete. In my design, I thought that the oak leaf hydrangea that I planted in there would fill that corner, but sadly it died. So I've planted another in its stead, but it's still kind of a baby and growing. In the meantime, I'll get that Annabelle trained so that it completely circumscribes this Eugenia topiary that's been set in the ground. And by the way, I will have to bring it in. So now we just cruise around to the steps. And one thing on my list of things to do, you can probably see it yourselves. You guys are you're so discriminating, and I think you can note that I probably need to put an awning over the back door, and I'm going to be doing that here before too long. Another thing that I need to do once I have a strong back is that central glazed pot with the Lenten rose in it that I got at Trader Joe's. I love the color palette and it looks great there, but it's getting too much sun. It needs to be in some more shade. So I will be moving it. And for those of you that think I have too many pots on my back steps, that will reduce their number. One thing I'm especially pleased with over here is how these pots are looking with just common things, you guys. And nothing is more common than this variegated Vinca Major, which I just bought on sale at Lowe's. The Obsession Nandina looks really beautiful in here, I think, along with some more of that Lenten rose that blooms in kind of that maroonish color. And then just some more of the common Nandina domestica that I dug up and put in a pot and mulched it all with that dark gravel. The other thing that I think is really, really doing well, and that is this laurel topiary that I made when I shopped my garden at the other house. And I keep pinching it, and you can see that it is starting to get more dense. So I just keep pinching out the tips. And I apologize, it may not be as clear as it would be. Let me try this. Nope. Let me try that. There we go. I'm sure that did something wonky with the audio. But that will thicken that up. And then the other thing that I'm going to be doing is I will continually be turning it towards the light so that it will fill out symmetrically all the way around. And I've got another shoot that's come up right here. And I'll probably remove it so I just have a strong standard straight stem that will thicken up over time. I'll probably cut that off, maybe use it in a flower arrangement. So that is the container plantings on the steps. I'm pleased with how they're evolving. Now let's take a break and I'll show you some other things in the back. Well, it's been so stormy. And what's amazing to me is, as stormy as it's been, with as much rain that has come down, it amazes me still how dry the soil is underneath the canopy of trees, underneath the canopy of, say, the foliage of the potted plants. Sometimes that rain just doesn't make it all the way to the base. So there's a tip for you guys, just to make sure that even though there's been a rain, even if it's a substantial one, that you make sure that some of that rain permeates whatever the plant is and gets to the soil below. And that's a good thing when you've got buckets and things like that out that capture water, rather than let them be a habitat for mosquitoes. Just pour whatever is in that bucket or that container and pour it into your potted plants. This area is really filling out. The little coconut buddleia, the butterfly candy, they are doing what I hoped they would do, and they're turning into soft little mounds. They've got buds on them. There's an artemisia there I need to do some clipping on. And someone, I believe a follower from Georgia, asked, how do I keep my pots from blowing over in the heavy winds during a thunderstorm? And I don't keep them from blowing over because they are so light. So sometimes what I'll do is congregate them all together, nestled one against the other, and that will help. Sometimes I will take them off their stand and just set them on the ground below. But increasingly what I've done is some of them in the very, very small pots. Like, let me come over here. And by the way, they all need to be trimmed, and I'll be doing that before too long. But like this little guy right here, I've been taking them out of their tiny pots, which really do blow over, and putting them in larger Italian terracotta pots, the brown ones. Unfortunately, I have enough over there on my potting stand that I can replace one with another, and I did that yesterday with just these two tall ones. And they'll be happy okay underneath the shade of the umbrella for a while, but then I'll have to rotate them out because what they really want is full sun. So fortunately, I have enough of the myrtle topiary that I can do that. I can just rotate them in and out from underneath the shade. Now, one thing I think I may have commented on in a previous video recently, and that's that we've had so much rain that a lot of the nutrients and things will be leaching out of our potted color. And back here, that would be my geraniums. And so I'm deadheading them pretty aggressively, and then I'm going to give them a super bloom feed with that espoma. Now these that are in this standing planter here, those are about to get removed. I just had them in there temporarily because I'm planting tomatoes in here. And you can see them just kind of hanging out in there until I get them in place. I need to add some more soil. And there also, as I was thinking about doing this, I noticed that there's a split in the wood there, this planter box. And that's the brilliance of having somebody like Kayla build these things for you, because she stands by her work. So at no extra charge to me, she'll come in, she'll fix that, she'll repaint it. The little Miss Figgy on this side is really taking off. But happily, the one on the other side is doing so as well. Here's some more of a different kind of Artemisia. And that Senecio, leaf angel wings, I'm getting ready to plant that right there. I lost one of them. I think I needed to get in the ground or potted, and I just wasn't quick enough on the draw there. All these pentas are really happy. And then something else that I hope starts blooming a little bit more profusely, and that is all of the red verbena that I planted around the perimeter of the rug. And hopefully it will bloom more. I think it's deserving of a feed of some espoma bloom as well. Now you may remember that in this corner, a plant that is great for tight and narrow spaces was this red-tipped holly, columnar holly from Southern Living. And sadly, the podocarpus, the Roman candle podocarpus that I had in the corners here, it couldn't make it through that minus 15 degree day that we had last winter. But this holly is doing great. And I'll put a link to this holly below. I put one of them in a large pot. You can see over here to the right of all of my terracotta pots. Let me do this. You can see it there. I know that does wonky things with the audio. And it's very heavy, but they're both doing brilliantly. And so I think what I'm going to do is I will just relocate it to that opposite corner where you see that bay in the galvanized bucket now. And then I'll have symmetry, and I think I'll be really pleased with the results there. And then yesterday I did some planting in my raised beds. So a number of peppers got planted in this box number 3. Oh, some kids going down the alley. Love it. In the middle box, lots of herbs. I've got some thyme, parsley. What else did I plant in there? Some red ruffle basil, some Thai basil. And then I still have some more things to plant in the first box. Now here's a sign that there's been some overwatering or too much rain, and that's this olive tree has some yellowing leaves. But that will all level out pretty rapidly, because I think after this week, it's not going to be nearly so wet. And I'm not complaining. Now this one seems to be a little bit happier over here, and it has lots of olives on it, which are very sweet. So last night, a little glimpse into our daily lives. Last night, Johnny and I made some delicious lamb meatballs with blackened cabbage, and they were fabulous. And then we made a composed chickpea salad, and it had a wonderful tahini sauce. It was really, really great. It's a recipe that my daughter-in-law up in Denver had made for me earlier and I wanted to replicate it. It was in one of the cookbooks that I think I've showed you before. Well, I've been asked what I do with all of my plastic pots, plastic trays, and such that my plants come in, and I recycle them. So I take them up to bricks, and my friend Sean and Jen, they put them to use there. And then whatever debris is the weeding and such that I do, that goes into my compost tumbler. And when the compost tumbler gets too full, then yes, sadly, I do have to put it in my trash box and that trash can, and that makes me sad, but we need municipal composting here. Now here's a sign of some hail that we got earlier last week. Lots of the leaves on these dragon wing begonias and also on my hosta, which is another reason I don't grow a lot of hosta, is because this happens. Increasingly over the years, we've started getting more and more thunderstorms accompanied by hail, and it just really does a number on any large and broad-leaved plants. So I'm going to do a little bit of trimming on all of my topiaries this week, which is very happy work. And these are the boxwood ones I made not too long ago. And they're really starting to establish good form. That middle one really needs some work. And here are some baby Eugenia that came out of the greenhouse, and they were pretty unhappy but with enough fertilization and watering and sun, they're starting to be happy again. Now later on, I'm going to show you my clean garage that I'm so proud of. We finally got that done and organized. And my next project is, of course, I organized them once, and now it's time to do it again. My little tool shed over there and my storage boxes that I use both in the front and in the back. The Japanese maples are so happy, and you can already see how the one on the left is starting to arch over the railings. I'll limb those up so they won't impede progress up and down the steps. But they are doing really, really wonderfully. But last night it was just beautiful, and when we were eating outside, we had the windows open and we had some country music playing, and it was pretty divine. The autumn coral azaleas, look at all that new pale growth that they're putting out, and I think they'll just be spectacular this fall. And all, finally, it's taken them a while, but all of the little evergreens, the pancake arborvitae and the dragon prince coreoptera, they are starting to put out new growth too. And the chef's choice rosemary, it is very happy here. And pretty soon, just little things that I have tucked in here, like there I've got some coleus underneath. And this is to prevent squirrel damage, you guys, because the squirrels have definitely found me. So underneath that wire cloche, I've got some hot orange zinnias coming up. And those Akita dahlias, there's one of them. So they have sprouted and are starting to do their thing. And the lamandra continues to be just very happy. There you can see the other little Miss Figgy. That was such a happy surprise when it decided to come out, to live and not die. I planted, because I just love its feathery foliage, I planted a fennel right there. Kind of hard to see against the dense green of the boxwood balls. And then I've also got some lavender that someone gifted me, and it's actually in bloom right now. So it remains to be seen how all of this stuff will continue to perform when it really gets hot. It's been up to 93, but I'm sure we will have 100-degree temps on our horizon. There's a boxwood ball in desperate need of pruning. So it may be a small backyard, but it lives big. And I'm really starting to spend a lot more time back here enjoying the company of my son and my friends and my husband back here, because it is a bit shadier and it really is a wonderful place to visit and dine. One last little snippet of this area, this just utility area. And in addition to the begonias, the other thing that suffered from the hail, or as I mentioned earlier, the hosta. And it just kind of punctures and then lacerates and shreds the leaves. Even under the protection of the canopy of these red cedars, it also did the same to some of those amaryllis that I'm just letting grow on. And there's the aforementioned holly that is going to be transplanted. And then down here, my seeding trough pot has, I don't know how many little baby foxglove that have germinated. And I'm really liking the way some of these grasses, that red fountain grass, looks, along with the other kind of purplish tones back here. So here is a closing pretty shot. I hope it's as cool and pretty where you are as it is here. We can all get out there this Wednesday and enjoy our garden.